Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hanratty'S Huddle as we come to you live from CT State, Norwalk. Always good to be here. I'm Rob Adams, Dave Toromio across the way, and Terry Hanratty to my left. And guys, good to see you both. Been a few weeks since I've been around, but here we go. We've got a guest lined up in a little bit. We'll get to that. But first, let's kind of catch up.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to catch up. I mean, we have I think probably one of the things that really jumps out at me was Notre Dame, Florida State.
Okay.
Florida State, by everybody, was picked number 8 in the country.
And they're
preseason.
Bad. And they're really
They're
bad.
horrible.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how everybody could be that wrong. They're 1-9 right now. And the one victory they have was, I forget who, but it was not a great team.
And he fired his offensive and his defensive coordinator in the middle of the season. I mean, who does that?
How do we get it that wrong?
You can't get it that
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, the way it is today, I mean, you can't hide anything. And it's just a total loss of a team. I don't know. Are there a lot of transfer kids in there? Because sometimes those just don't mesh. And but I don't see how this coach could keep his job.
No.
No.
I mean, when you have a disaster, but if he fired the defense and offensive coordinator, I mean, I'm probably getting a signal from above, get rid of somebody or you're gone.
Yeah, start with them, you're next.
Yeah, so it's really boggles my mind because that's such a great program that everybody could be that wrong.
Yeah.
Well, here's the good news for Florida State. After coming off
There's good?
52-3, yeah, there is something very good for them. 52-3 loss to Notre Dame. And by the way, thank you, Terry, for the tip on that. Notre Dame doesn't cover the spread.
People got to realize now, I for years now, people used to call me when I was working on Wall Street. People would call me on Friday and say, who do you like over the weekend? And I give them my picks.
Yeah.
Then I'm going, oh, man, they lost the 4 days. They all call me Monday and thank me.
Yes.
I said, you had to lose? He said, no, we call you, and then we go the opposite way.
Well, there's a reason why.
Okay, there we go.
There's a reason why this is not a prognostication podcast.
That's right.
all
That's right.
But here's the good news for Florida State. A, they have 2 games left. B, they have the week off. C, their next game is against Charleston Southern. So
And that's a pick 'em.
And that might be a
That'll help.
So it's just so bad for them.
It really is. It's a great program.
Yeah, it is. Bobby Bowden and everything that was built down there, and boy, I mean, I think there's no way he can keep his job. No way.
No way. I agree with you. And any thoughts on college football playoffs early on from you guys as we're getting closer to this whole kind of tournament this year that's going to happen?
The only thing that sticks out is Oregon.
How so?
They're going to be on top. I think they're by far the best team.
Okay.
And everything else is sort of a scramble. I mean, each week there's a couple upsets, so it flips the whole bracket upside down. Notre Dame is at 8 now. I don't know if that's a little high for them or not, but I'm not sure. So go from there.
Yeah, well, we know the SEC always shows well, but you have Georgia coming off a loss to Ole Miss.
They're out of the mix right now.
Yeah, they're 11th.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, Alabama thankfully kicked the crap out of LSU.
We love that one. Go Roll Tide.
Alabama number 9.
And, our old friend Brian Kelly licking his wounds. So, rough season for him as well.
But it's interesting to see the Alabamas and the Georgias below.
Right.
Now you got the Oregon up top.
Oregon, yeah.
You got BYU is up there. You got some different names now.
And it'll be a scramble for Alabama and Georgia to kind of make it into the playoffs. I mean, I think they can make it, but there's not going to be an easy road at this moment.
Well, one of them is going to win the tournament.
Yes.
So
yeah,
go from there.
By the way, BYU, I don't know. I mean, so they're undefeated.
Yeah, they're
obviously.
9-0.
9-0. But did you see how they won the game against Utah?
Yes.
They're gonna. Who do they have this week? I think Kansas or.
If it's Kansas, that's
with Utah's AD losing his mind.
Losing his
post-game.
mind. Yeah. I mean, because of the penalty call, they had him beat. And the penalty
That's
call.
still that's a tough look for an AD to do what he did. Basically,
is.
march into a press conference and just say, "We joined the conference for this. This is terrible."
That's
a bad look.
Sometimes you got it. That's why they're supposed to have a cooling off period, right?
Yes.
So if your players have a cooling off period and your coach has a cooling off period, you're the AD. You first of all, you should let your coach handle it. right? And then
I've never seen an athletic director come into
No,
press
nobody
conference.
has.
post game interview.
So BYU might have had a little lucky charm on their side. Who knows? But it's going to be very interesting. I like the fact that there's more than the 4 teams.
I want to see where Indiana goes.
Yeah. Indiana 10-0. They're number 5.
10-0. They're number 5, and they've never been this high.
No.
And they're all, that is a basketball school.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden, Indiana has really popped up, and they've had some good wins.
They've had some great wins, and they're getting great support there.
And Indiana's going to be the poster child for that team that doesn't normally get to the last 4.
Right.
But this year with the expanded playoffs, there they are.
Right.
They'll be that, this is why we're doing it team.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think they beat Ohio State. I mean, that's
very doubtful.
Yeah.
It's very doubtful.
Ohio State 8-1, number 2, but it's Oregon's world right now. I agree with that.
Ohio State lose to? Do we remember?
They lost to Oregon.
Oh, they did.
Out there, yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, it was out there. That's right. Yeah.
And it was a close game.
Yeah.
It wasn't, Oregon didn't run all over them.
Yeah, so that proves Oregon is legit.
They're
right?
legit.
Yeah.
And kind of as a transitional point to get to the NFL, I mentioned this little story to you about Deion Sanders and how he'll definitely have a private say, his quote, in where Shedeur Sanders winds up playing in the NFL. What do you guys think?
I hate these things.
It's kind of akin to, let's be fair, it's kind of akin to, what the Mannings did when Eli came out.
I didn't like it back then. I don't like it today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not right.
Or even what John Elway did.
I remember that very well.
John Elway did the same. You're right.
Would
The
not
Colts
play for the
draft me,
Colts.
I'll play baseball, right? So, I mean, yeah, that's so.
Throw him that curveball.
Yeah.
See how long he'll play baseball.
That's right.
And here I was having dreams of him playing in Yankee Stadium. Never happened. He played for Oneonta, though.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, but listen, if you're a GM of any NFL team, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. If this guy's going to get – and by the way, Deion's going to look for an NFL job himself. So,
Well, I think Deion wants the kid to go with him.
right.
The both go to Dallas. How's that? Because Dallas is, they're going to have one of the top picks the way they're going.
Deion has coached him at every level.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Deion, a former Cowboy, and Jerry Jones is looking right now, and
Yeah, McCarthy's days are ticking.
yeah,
They're
I don't
numbered.
think, and I think Colorado should be looking also for
Probably true.
who would follow into Deion,
Yeah.
because I don't think Deion lasts. I don't think he lasts beyond his son being in college. I think
That's
fair.
He's gone
I agree,
somewhere.
Yeah. So he did kind of put their football program back on the map.
He's done a
right?
good job.
Yeah.
He's done
He
a good
has,
job.
and they're
There's no
7-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And good for him. I
Yeah.
mean, it's but yeah, Deion's just not one of these guys that's going to stick around forever. And the Cowboys they're very interesting because they have a lot of problems. They're almost like Jetsian. It's every year, and then Dak now hurt again. And what do you think about this sunshine thing with the way that stadium was built and the receivers? You saw the play in the end zone. The receiver didn't see the ball.
Oh, you can't see it. Yeah.
Because it was coming out of the sun.
And that's the problem with you have no consistency. When you have a hole in the roof and you're there, it's all shaded, nice. All of a sudden, it's like someone flashes the light in front of you.
Yeah.
Boom, it blinds you for a second. But if you're used to it and you see it throughout the course of the game, where the sun is always there, then your eyes sort of adjust to it.
Okay, this sunshine is coming through the glass like windows that they built, right?
Right.
And they built the field east-west. They didn't build it like every other football field in the world, north-south, to avoid this problem. People were smart enough 100 years ago to understand this.
Yeah.
That if you build it east-west, at some point the sun might shine in your face.
Yeah, you're not twisting it around either.
No, you're not moving it. I don't think. So somebody suggested curtains. And
Hey,
Jerry Jones said,
It's not a bad idea with the little buzzer.
Yeah, listen,
open and close them.
when our team has the ball, we lower the curtains. When the other team has it, we raise them, right?
There is a certain perverse delight watching Jerry suffer like this.
Yeah,
Have to say though,
no doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Terry, a big win for the Steelers this past weekend, and you and I both said it off the air.
I
Didn't
was
expect it.
surprised. I
Yeah.
really did. I thought going down to Washington, I'm just not sure how good the Steelers are. And they played a really hot team. And Daniel's a heck of a quarterback.
Yes.
But he didn't really cause them any problems.
No, he did not.
I mean,
He
they
really
really
didn't.
contained him. And I think the Steelers really showed that, they're for real. I hate to see Highsmith getting hurt.
I do too.
He just got back, and he's such a compliment to Watt on the other side. But they got the new kid from Green Bay, who's a rush And so maybe that could take.
And it was so good to see Mike Williams come up with a nice touchdown grab over the shoulder.
Boy, that
to
didn't
win
take
the game.
long.
I mean, it's like,
I wasn't going to bring that up.
This guy couldn't do. I mean, they couldn't get him on the field with the Jets. All of a sudden, he's catching touchdowns. Whatever,
And that was the clincher.
That won the game.
Yeah,
sure
that
did.
was a nice pass and a nice catch.
Good throw, good catch. And,
Russell was only 50% on his completions, but he threw 3 touchdowns. So and he can throw that moon ball really well.
Yeah.
He just drops it right in.
Throw it up there and let him run under it. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
And the defense played good enough. I mean, you still gave up 27 points, and they had to fight to come back. They were down 10 in that game. I'm not used to the Steelers making these kinds of comebacks without Ben Roethlisberger.
Right.
So this was nice to see. This shows me this team has a little something. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl, but they're in the mix. Definitely.
I thought it was not a good move to get Fields out of there. I didn't think he played his way out.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, something had to be.
To give Russell Wilson, I guess he gave Fields a few games.
Yep.
He gave Russell Wilson a few games. He's going to weigh him. Okay, who's my better guy to go with right now?
Right now, Russ
and it showed Russell is the guy to go with.
Yep.
I think knowing Tomlin, not that I know him personally,
Because he scored.
Yes.
I mean, Fields didn't make any mistakes, but he didn't put any points on the board.
No.
Right. And I think Tomlin probably had a conversation with both those guys before the season when Russell got there. Listen, Russell's a starter, and that's...
He's 30-some years old, too.
So, okay. But you guys, I mean, the Steelers have a really tough game this week. Baltimore comes to town, and Baltimore has had 10 days to prepare, unlike the Jets, who have 10 days to prepare and look like they got the notice yesterday that they are playing a game. Baltimore is a good team, and they're coming off a really big win against the Bengals.
Baltimore is hot, and they're very good.
Yeah.
And this is the Steelers needed to build up a big lead coming into this part of the season. Because it's back half of the season is all the division games.
Yep.
It's the worst schedule I've ever seen.
Interesting.
And we have a special guest.
We do.
We're all set to talk to our special guest. I'll hold it for a moment till we've made the connection, and then Terry will bring him on. How's that sound?
First ever Hanratty Huddle guest.
Yes.
How
Isn't
about
that something?
He should be honored.
And he's going to be paid that way, too.
Paid appropriately. We'll talk to that guest. Terry, I'm going to leave that up to you. It's our first Hanratty'S Huddle guest.
The first Hanratty'S Huddle guest is my teammate from Notre Dame and obviously the Pittsburgh Steelers, the great Rocky Bleier.
That's very kind of you.
And
it's very nice to be with you guys.
Before we get into any formal discussions here about anything, as we've said before, Brock, a lot of times I've brought up a couple stories about Lambert, how I used to screw around with him and everything. But the one that is really that involves Rock, because you got to realize Rock back then was very boring. Over all the years, leading up to this day, he's got a little humor in him now. I just noticed earlier in our conversation.
That's right.
But the old Steeler locker room, I was the first locker because I was number 5. I was the lowest number. And then Gillum was in there with 17 and Rocky was 20, So one day Rocky decided to play a practical joke, which Rocky never did, and everybody knows that I did, right? So he put some Red Hot in Joe Gillum's underwear.
Oh, no.
This is after practice. So these guys are all going home. The quarterbacks are going in with Chuck for our quarterback meeting, right?
Right.
So,
now, listen, Terry, if I may, I'll let you tell that story, but I just want the reason why it took place, okay?
Okay.
The reason why I did that. I'll lead up to that. So, anyway, the fact is that we were practicing over at Carnegie Mellon. We were in a bus, so we had to go. The Pirates were playing, so we couldn't use the field. So we bussed over to Carnegie Mellon for practice, and then we're on our way back. So, quarterbacks, you just have to, in general, all quarterbacks, at practice, they don't do nothing. They don't do anything. They don't get hit. They can't be tagged. So just hand the ball off, drop back, throw the ball, and so on. So there you have all this energy, and so on, because they didn't do anything. Anyway, we're on the way back, and Joe Gillum's sitting in the front, and he's all full of piss and vinegar. But somehow, I don't know, he was doing something. He had a roll of paper or something that was in a ball, and he threw it not at me, but it hit me right in the face. It hit me right in the face.
It's probably roll of tape.
That was it. Roll of tape. He took the tape off because he didn't use it. That was it. Roll of tape hit me right in the face. And I'm sorry, it just pissed me off. But, at that moment. And so I got back and, Joe got, oh, I'm sorry. So we got back and Joe's locker was right next to mine. And so they take the longest time. And so Joe's screwing around and so anyway, he's in the shower. I don't know why. Usually you're in and you're out, but he's in the shower at the end. And I thought, okay. So what and how you have to do it very tenderly is that I put it in the towel, rubbed it in the towel, and then rubbed the towel within the crotch of his pants. Joe was also known for not wearing underwear. And so, because I didn't want him to get I'd feel it. I didn't want him to feel it. I just wanted him to get the aroma later. But anyway, so anyway, it took me forever to get it. So he leaves, he walks out, and all of a sudden he comes back into the locker room, and I'm the only guy that's left, and his pants are down around his ankle, and he's hobbling along, and he goes, Rock, some SOB, to put my hot stuff in my pants. Did you see anybody do this? I know, Joe. I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't. I went and took a shower. I'm the last guy here. I didn't see anybody do this. Oh, that SOB did a bit. And so it wasn't until I put that story in my book years later.
Well, he thought it was me.
That's right. He thought it was you to begin with. That's right.
But you had to be in the quarterback meeting, because we all went after that.
That was it. Tell him that.
Yeah, we all went into the quarterback meeting. So it's Bradshaw because he has set on the end there, and because he has a spittoon.
Yeah.
Because he was chewing tobacco. Of course. Then Gillum. Then me and Chuck. We're sort of in a little semicircle there watching the films, and all of a sudden I look over there, Joe just started to squirm. I'm going, what's going on? He's just going, all of a sudden he just jumps up, and Chuck is wondering what the hell's going on, right? And he runs out of the room, and Chuck said, what was that all about? I said, I have no idea. And he goes out, and the worst thing he can do, he passes Rocky, he runs back into the shower. The worst thing he can do is put water on that. And it burns even worse. So for years, he thought it was me, and I said, no. Then Rocky puts it in his book, and Gillum finally finds out it was Rocky that did it.
Very good.
Oh.
That's classic. That's a great one.
No, it's always that good stuff. Oh, yeah, but you so here's Terry. So Terry's other one, which I've told, and maybe you've told too, is that so he used to put a cup of water in Lambert's shoulder pads that were on top of his locker, and so Terry was, and I was sitting next to Terry, and he goes, "Oh, watch this! That stupid SOB, he doesn't know what's going." And so Lambert's over there, and he reaches for his shoulder pads as we're going out to practice, and of course, he pulls the water and he turns, and if looks could kill, everybody would be dead. But he couldn't figure out who it was that did it. And Terry would be over there. He'd be chuckling.
I had my coffee and my cigarette there and be in good shape.
That's right.
The thing is, you never hear those stories today, though.
No.
It's all, these guys they would call their agent and say, listen, could I put a glass of water under Jack Lambert's shoulder pad? What are my legal obligations here? Could he sue me for that?
I want to trade.
Let me look at my.
That's right. I want to trade.
Yeah, let me look at my briefcase and see if that is covered by the NFL rules.
Rocky, you have remained a remarkable ambassador for football and for the Steelers. How important is that role for you?
Well, no, that's a question out of left field. But that's very good.
I do my best, Rocky.
We're changing the pace here a little bit.
That's right. Living here or, making Pittsburgh home and being a part of, the Steelers and that success and all the guys that made up those teams, for me, it becomes important just to have that relationship because I feel so grateful to be able to have been a part of an organization, team members that pulled together that allowed us to have that experience through that period of time. So so it just kind of, one of those things that have morphed over the years, and as we're getting older, and so you get a chance to support local organizations that have supported the Steelers. You get a chance to have somewhat of a say so in other things, and it's really kind of, and I'm going to tell you this, it's really like giving back. I mean, I felt so fortunate to be at the right place at the right time in all of our lives, and I take that back, to Notre Dame and to college football and so on, just being at the right place. It is that people don't understand the changes that have taken place, and I look at it from my perspective, and it's my perspective. So I come out of high school, as we all did, Terry as well. We get a scholarship offer to go to Notre Dame or other schools, and so we choose to go to Notre Dame for whatever reason. But we're there now. Put things in perspective. In 1964, my freshman year at Notre Dame, the NCAA changed the substitution rules. Prior to 1964, at the change of the ball, you could only substitute 3 players. What does that mean? Well, most players play both ways. So you had, a center playing nose tackle. You had a guard playing defensive tackle. Other people played linebacker. And so, so the competition, was drastic. You didn't have platoons like we have today, offense and defense and so on. And so all of a sudden that changes. What does that do? Well, we have a guy by the name of Pete Duranko, who's from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And Pete is as a fullback. Pete was like you remember, it's about 6'3", 240 pounds or 200. It was a huge guy at that time. Chuck makes him a defensive tackle. We have another running back that's
Era.
Era, yeah, that's right. Era moves him a defensive tackle. There's another running back that's 6'4". He moves him to an offensive tackle. All of a sudden, it was opportunities that just opened up because of rule changes. And so the second thing is that being part of that first recruited class, is now Era's people that are playing. So you don't play until you don't get a chance to start until your sophomore year, or make the varsity till your sophomore year. By your sophomore year, every backup position, if you weren't a starter, all backup positions were by sophomores, and so you just got more opportunity to play, and so there was a senior running back who got hurt the last couple of games my sophomore year, and so you get a chance to play, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a position, and so we get this upstart his freshman year, and then my sophomore year, but going into our sophomore junior years, and you get this we get these quarterbacks competition that was going on, and then this guy from where the hell he was in Pennsylvania, all of a sudden emerges, so all of a sudden, so we got Terry at quarterback, and our sophomore year, and all of a sudden things fall into place, and we win a national championship, at that time. And so all of a sudden, my senior year, then we go 8-2, but that's okay. I mean, so we've had a winning season, and then you get then you get an opportunity. And I just think that if things weren't going, if things hadn't changed, rules hadn't changed, opportunities hadn't changed, what would have happened? And so you feel very grateful for that opportunity, and coming to, so we get drafted, Terry and I, to come to Pittsburgh. And
well, that's a good part there, Rock. I'm going to interrupt you because we both were fortunate to play under two great coaches, Ara Parseghian and Chuck Noll. I think two opposite ends of the spectrum coaches, but both were highly successful. How do you feel that?
Oh, they very much. Everything, and I'm going to say this: the coaching that made me or gave me the opportunity to play was Ara. Coming out of high school, and let's be honest, you come out of high school, you're an athlete, you play, you get guys, you learn the fundamentals of the game and so on, but you don't really learn a lot of techniques and or philosophies of the game and how it's going to be played. Eric came in, and his staff, honest to God, everything that I learned about the game came from there was everything that Era did, there was a reason. There was a reason for it. And I'm going to tell you this little story off the side. For one of the things that everybody who was lined up to the right of the football had to get into a left-handed stance. Everybody to the left of the football got into the normal right-handed stance. Most people were right-handed at the time. Now, it may not seem like much, but I always tell people, I said, fold your arms. Okay, just automatically fold your arms. You need to fold them. Now reverse it. Well, it's a little awkward. It's a little different. So left-handed stance, but there was a reason. Every reason for pulling guard or tackle the block to the left. It was easier for them just to push off the right leg and come around the center or the guard, depending on what the route was, rather than having to take a drop step, because that drop step might make the difference of being a hole or not a hole. And so that was all errors, little things. And the interesting thing from my perspective is that when I came to Pittsburgh in 1968, now there was a rule change in the NFL. And that rule change was that on crackback blocks, if you're a flanker or in the slot and you had a crackback on that outside linebacker, you had to now get your head and your shoulders in front of their thigh pads. And so in the past, all you had to do, you could clip them and you could, however you needed to block them. But now you had to get your shoulder. And they said, okay, here was the first day. How many of you rookies can get into a left-handed stance? I, of course, was the only hand that was raised at the time, because he said, what we don't want you to cheat in. We don't want you to give it away. Everybody had to be in a 3-point stance at that time. So we want you to be in a left-handed stance so that you could drive off your right foot and down the line and get that head and shoulder in front of the thigh pads. And so it's little things like that made Ara Parseghian as a head coach and Tom Pagner, backfield coach. Those little things became so important as I made the transition into the pros, because they don't necessarily teach you those little techniques that are necessary to be a better running back, to be a blocking back or whatever.
Because back then, coaching staffs weren't that big.
No.
Now every guy on the team has their own personal coach. But back then, you had a backfield coach. You didn't have a coordinator. You didn't have a running back. We had a running back coach, but you didn't have. Era and Tom Pagno were also the coordinator, and they were the quarterback coach and whatnot. So there were very few. The staff was very small. But and Franco was alive, and when he was alive, he always. One of the real things that made him successful was we had a great offensive line, number one, but actually it was Rocky.
Right.
Rocky made that initial block. On the defensive end or the linebacker, because he knew the technique. When you're a great running back coming out of college, all you do is run the ball. You don't block for anybody and whatnot. But Rocky knew the intricacies of blocking and the angles and stuff like that, and it was very successful for Franco and the Steelers.
Yeah.
Rocky. Right. As it turned out, go ahead.
Rock, this is Dave, aka the loser Jet fan.
That's right.
Just want to share with you something. My dad played for Amos Lonzo Stagg. My dad was a Marine. He's no longer with us, but you were his favorite player. We're coming off Veterans Day, and just he thought so much of you for what you did for the service of our country, and I just want to personally thank you for that as well. And before you respond to that, I just also want to ask if you have anything you can share with us about Terry that maybe we don't know.
Wow. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Keep it clean.
Coming up in the outtakes.
Well, we made a pact. When Terry and I were roommates on the road.
Okay.
So we made a pact. We made a pact.
And
not to tell any stories.
It's in the vault.
That's right.
It's in the vault.
That was, but and I think Terry, one of the things that we learned, was the fundamentals of the game. I remember Era, because Era had the quarterbacks, making you drop back, quick release. Of the football and how and what a difference that was, I think, in your approach or playing career.
Yeah, one of the big things was when my sophomore year, first game we started against Purdue, Bob Greasy and Jim Seymour and I had a big game. 3 touchdown passes, over 300 yards.
Right.
We're on national TV, all that good stuff. And every Sunday night, we would go in and we'd break down the film. You have dinner, then you break down the film and whatnot. So I'm walking into that room thinking, pretty good, man. I had a great game. I was really good. I'm going to sit back and just relax for this film. And they turned out the lights, and all of a sudden, Pagna and Era start yelling, "Look at that footwork. That's horrible. Look at that. You went back on your right foot. You should have been back on your left foot." After that film session, I walked out there and said, "Who the hell played Saturday?" Wasn't me.
That's right.
Had to tear you down. Keep you humble. Keep you humble.
For sure.
That's right. Yeah. And it was all, and it really was, and it was all those little techniques like that, those little techniques that you didn't get in the pros necessarily, that helped you become a better ball player or make the transition easier into that level. And those fundamentals, kind of stuck with you in everything that you did. So that was, we did. And you're right, Terry, and you think about it today, at least on a professional, well, back in college as well, but, even on with the Steelers, I mean, there was no offense or defensive coordinator.
No.
Okay.
So we didn't even have a quarterback coach.
No, Chuck was the quarterback coach, right? Yeah. I mean, he's the one that had you in the meetings and so on. So we had a defensive backfield coach, we had a linebacker coach, a defensive line coach, offensive line coach, a receivers coach, and a running back coach, and Chuck, and Chuck, and that was it. You were a designated offensive coordinator or designated defensive coordinator. That didn't mean you get any more money. It's just that somebody had to take charge. Okay, so we're putting you in charge of that responsibility, and and it all worked. It all worked because I think sometimes today, you get so now you got to write. You get rather than a backfield coach, you get a maybe a right halfback coach. You got a fullback coach,
tight end coach. You got a coach for everything.
Tight end coach. You got a coach for everything, and who do you listen to? So that guy that's in your ear, is an assistant of one nature or another, or do you listen to the offensive coordinator, or do you listen to you go, oh my God. And anyway, that's my thing. It's like there's too many people out there that are coaching or trying to coach.
Rock, you've been so great to give us some time. I'm going to throw one last thing at you as we start wrapping up. Of course, in Pittsburgh at Acrisure Stadium, they have a great museum, the Hall of Honors Museum, but they have a little broadcast booth there. And I will admit to you, I do some play-by-play. So my son and I go in this booth. You can pick from one of a number of Steelers plays, and I pick Rocky's catch in Super Bowl 13 from Bradshaw. That was a great play right before halftime and a highlight to be able to call that play, have a little fun with it. I wish I had a recording of it, though.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Rock Sky.
Well, do we have time? Do you want to hear? You want to hear my opinion of that play?
I would love to hear this.
I mean, if we gave, okay, fine. So listen to this. So we had the ball down. The ball's down on the 7-yard line. It's 3rd and 1 yard to go for a first down. The play that had been called was just a quick pass play to the halfback myself, okay? So you got to picture this to our listeners out there. So when the ball was snapped, I go at a 45-degree angle down to the line of scrimmage. I cut down the line of scrimmage at another 45-degree angle, catch the ball over my shoulder, take a 90-degree turn up the field, pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 yards, depending on how the Cowboys would react. And they always reacted well. When the ball was snapped, none of that happened. I did break out of my stance, but my opponent jumped across that line of scrimmage, and I had to cut it short. So I took that 90-degree turn right up in front of him. Now, in the meantime, Bradshaw was faking to Franco into the line of scrimmage. And when he pulled the ball out, looking for that receiver, myself, down the line of scrimmage, and when he did not spot me, well, being the smart, intelligent quarterback that we perceived him to be, it finally dawned on him that it might be a broken play. So he tucked the ball underneath his arm, scrambled to his right. Sideline was looming up. Opposite side of him were these larger-than-life Neanderthal beings with lobotomies chasing him down. And then it happened. Maybe once in a lifetime will you ever experience it, when all time it just seems to stand still. And our eyes met across the field, now like 40 yards separating us. And under pressure, he released the ball. Maybe a little too quickly, maybe a little too high. And it came floating into that end zone. And as it came floating into that end zone, I leaped all 5'9.5" of me with all my might straight up in the air as high as I could go. I don't know, 18, 19, 20 feet. I kind of forget after all these years. And I grabbed that ball and came down across that goal line to give us a score and a lead we'd never relinquished.
Nice.
Better believe
I
it.
think you've told that story
before. You think?
Well, you were our first guest, but you need to come back on as often as we can get you, Rocky. Man, this was this was great.
It was fun.
Right,
it was
Rock,
fun.
Get back,
all right.
Get back to work. We'll send you the check. Don't worry.
Thanks, Rock.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, guys. All
Thanks,
right.
Rocky.
Be good. Thanks.
Rocky Bleier with us here on Hanratty'S Huddle. Oh, I could do a lot more of that.
Oh boy. think Rocky needs his own podcast.
I think he does. He's fantastic.
Exactly.
Got me
Good.
wondering if we need to break this up into two parts. This was too good.
That was very good.
He was tremendous, Terry. Wow, what great stories. And that's just a sample.
I just hope we get next. We'll get Lambert on and see what, and he'll be one-word answers. Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, really? Oh.
I'd be too afraid to ask anything.
Well, here's my thing. If the question came out of left field, I don't know where the answer came out of, because, I mean, you got quite the
He
answer.
sure did get quite the answer.
He's
Wow.
hey, what a great guy. And I was very serious about my thanks for his being a vet and his service to this country.
I would, people are forgetting about Vietnam, which is sad.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Of
very
course,
sad.
yeah.
And
People
it was
forgot
a
it. We're
very
trying to
dark-
forget about it when it was happening.
Yeah, a very dark day in our life.
Yes, absolutely.
But what happened to Rocky there?
Yeah.
Was I didn't want to bring it up when he was on because he was just too humble about it. But he came back with shrapnel all through him.
Yeah.
The doctors, when they were operating many operations, they said, you may walk again.
Yeah.
He said, well, I want to play in the NFL. No, come on, what are you crazy? No way in hell you're going to run. He rushed for 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
unheard of. And when he came back, he stayed with my family and I, and we work out together. And I kept telling him, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And this is crazy. I mean, he's limping. Take him, 3 seconds to get to the line of scrimmage on a dive play, right?
Right. Because remember, back then, it wasn't all about the big paycheck you were going to get.
no.
Right?
And
So it's not like,
And Mr. Rooney told him, he said, Rocky, you don't have to play football.
Yeah.
I will send you to Duquesne Law School.
Yep.
I will pay for everything.
What a man.
And get on with your life.
Roonies are the
And-
best.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, they really
Really
and
are.
he said, "No, Mr. Rooney, I want to try." So he kept him on like an injury reserve for a year, and
Yep.
then he came back. He had a year to rehab, and he kept getting better and better. And I mean, Rock was one of these great. I mean, he was a great team player
Oh, no doubt.
because he did a lot of the dirty work. He did a lot of special teams, and like I said, the blocking for Franco was incredible because he had such great technique, which he learned at Notre Dame.
Right.
Like he had mentioned,
Yep.
where he was getting into these defensive linemen and getting into these linebackers. And he had great hands for as small as he was. And he was not very flexible. I mean, he was, muscular up top, so that made it even tougher to reach up for the ball.
Yeah.
Rocky is the classic example of it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
Yeah, all heart.
No, true.
Yeah.
So true.
And a TV movie made about him back in, I think it was 1980. I
Well,
remember
my,
that very
my
well.
character was, was Steve Tannen. Remember him?
Yeah.
sure.
He played me in that movie.
Yeah.
He thought that was going to catapult him to a great career in Hollywood, which it didn't. But supposedly I got in a fight with Joe Green in the locker room.
Oh.
Because Joe was saying the only reason he's on the team, it's all Hollywood stuff they're putting
I
in there.
got you. Yeah, so,
And Bubba Smith played Joe Green.
gotcha.
And they said, that the only reason he's here because Mr. Rooney, he shouldn't even be on the team, Rocky.
Yeah.
And, supposedly I got in Joe's face and,
Oh, okay.
almost got in a fight. We were separated.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You were going to go after Joe Green?
Yeah. Okay.
But that's all Hollywood. None of that even came close to happening.
Okay, yeah.
And in fact, when I'll never forget my rookie year, Rock's a year older, so he's in Vietnam. I'm in training camp in St. Vincent.
Yep.
And Chuck comes into a meeting, and he says, sad news, one of our players got shot in Vietnam. And you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it was really.
You knew.
Because everybody was with Rocky for a year.
Yeah.
The people that were there, only a few of us were.
But especially you, because you went to college.
I saw him in college.
Yeah.
And you could hear a pin drop because they didn't know how bad it was or whatever, but it was something.
You didn't get up and say, I love Rocky Bleier. I love Brian Piccolo.
Rocky song, no.
No.
Nothing like that.
Great stuff, guys.
No,
Really,
tremendous stuff. A tremendous episode. We'll do it again. Tremendous edition of Hanratty'S Huddle. And we'll look forward to talking with you next week as we carry on. And boy, we'll see who else is coming on next. But
Oh, boy, yeah.
yeah, we'll have some fun with that. And Steelers-Ravens coming up. Big game. Huge game.
Should be interesting.
Should be a fun one. So thanks for listening, everyone. For Dave Toromio, Terry Hanratty, and Rocky Bleier, I'm Rob Adams. Thanks for listening to Hanratty'S Huddle. We'll see you next time.